Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta and we are today in DPS School's Arkepuram branch in Delhi because our guests today are two of its most illustrious students. Rohit Bansal.
Hi.
And Kunal, Bahl, founders of Snapdeal that I don't have to introduce. I see you people wear logos on your bodies. I don't see your names on the list of head boys or toppers, but you are now two of the most illustrious alumni of this school. So the reason we are here is not to discuss your turnover and your valuation, which I know is plenty. You can add a few zeros here and there, or your business model. Because the only thing that matters to me in the business model is that if I order something, it should reach me on time and in good shape. But tell us your story, because you were in this school together and you've stayed together since then. Yeah. I mean, and this is unique in a country where siblings fall out, right? Friends fall out or friends go different ways.
Yeah.
So tell us your story.
So, Rohit and I met right here. Almost 16 years ago, 17 years ago, in 1999. And Rohit had just moved from Punjab to Delhi to study here, and I'd always been studying in DPS. And since then, we've always stayed the best of friends. And whether we were working together or not, we would always hang out.
1999 was the year of the Kargil war. So it tells you how young you are. Looks like the other day. So tell us, Rohit, tell us the story of when you first met. What was this?
So situation? As Kunal mentioned, I was this kid who grew up in Punjab. I came to the place where I grew up. The only thing people knew about further education was कि अगर आपके 10th में number अच्छे आते हैं, then you go to DPS Arkepuram. That was the only thing that people knew.
You were in Malot.
I was in Malot, which is near Bathinda.
I remember I went to school. My class 6 was in Bathinda, and the train always had a stop at Malot Mandi.
Yes, that's the one.
Right.
Yeah, and people negotiated for that stop.
Right.
Yeah. So I grew up there. I think I did decently well in class 10, so I came to Delhi. I came to DPS Arkepuram, which was the only place that we knew, nothing else about Delhi. I think in DPS, both of us were in the same section. And I remember, in DPS, the way people sit is, all the new students who've come in from just in class 11th and 12th, they sit in one corner of the class because they're just new, they just come into the school. Everyone else, they know each other from before because they've been around. So I used to sit in that corner of the class where all the new students.
So there was a class system within the class, or a caste system within the class.
I think the familiarity system more than the class system.
Right.
And we used to sit pretty much diametrically opposite. Right. And then as things would have it, just over a period of a few weeks from the day I joined, both of us started sitting together. And then we've been sitting together since class 11th and 12th.
Was it a friendship at first sight?
I don't, there is a way of the universe conspiring to create this gravitational pull of sorts, I feel. I actually don't even know what was the context, but literally we used to sit diametrically opposite parts of the class, and within 4 weeks, we were sitting next to each other.
And then we became very good friends also, that we continued sitting together.
So what were your common interests that brought you close together?
I think food and maths.
Yeah.
And one more, which we'll skip.
That I can imagine. But you see, food and the third that you are skipping, that will be shared with all the boys in the class, or most of the boys in the class. But math is unusual.
Yeah, I think we were both quite nerdy. I mean, we were nerdy, but we enjoyed it also. We often would exchange math problems, and we would derive some sort of joy out of solving tough math problems. But I think the food was probably a distant number one.
Did you people eat a lot?
Both of us were like over 100 kgs back then.
My goodness. I don't think it together are 100 kgs.
No.
A little more than 100 kgs.
And I was like, I grew up in this very...
So you were obese school kids?
Two obese kids sitting next to each other talking about food and maths. Right? That's what we were doing.
And I grew up in this very, very relatively orthodox Agarwal family in Punjab where everyone was a vegetarian. Egg was like only few select people have egg and they are considered non-vegetarian. He's the one who made me a pure non-vegetarian since I moved to Delhi.
Welcome to the Punjabi way of eating in Delhi.
So you became then a pakka Punjabi non-vegetarian eater.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what did you learn from him?
I think many things. I'd never met someone who was had like true raw intellectual horsepower until then. And you meet a lot of smart people, but I never met someone who truly had amazing intellectual horsepower that there was no problem that Rohit could not solve. And I think you learn a lot. You learn humility more than anything else. And honestly, that has continued last 17 years.
You went your different ways. IIT is tough life, and UPenn business school. It's very tough life there also, very demanding.
I'm not sure about the former, but yeah, latter.
Maybe you had fun at IIT. But how did this dream sustain? Because, you know, for someone coming out of IIT, you have campus recruitments. You want to be on Economic Times page 1, getting multi-crore salary. You coming from a good foreign B school, you want to walk straight into Goldman Sachs, right? And parents also want you to do that. When did you know you were not going to do that?
I think we always knew. I think we were very clear that at some point we're going to do something together. It was only a matter of time. And that time actually became closer and closer to now. And I think the turning point was end of 2006. My brother was getting married and I was back from college for the wedding. And Rohit was also here. And we spent an enormous amount of time, like morning till evening. And by then, both of us had been working for a few months. And we realized that now we don't want to do a job, we're going to do something together.
So when was the first time one of you said to the other, कि हम तो धंधा शुरू करेंगे?
I think so. I very specifically remember
Right
this
outside the house.
This was outside his house when his brother's Godi was going. By the way, he was hanging out with me discussing work and all these things while his brother was getting married. And I remember he mentioned that, you know, we should do some business like this, etc. And I again, very typical analysis paralysis style. Ha, theek hai, let's think about it. Why don't we give it a month and do this. It's like, why a month? If you are interested, this seems to be as good a time as any other time would be. Let's catch up tomorrow and let's see where it goes. So literally next day, we started working on it. And I think for 5 days, we were just both sitting in a room brainstorming. We can do this, we can do that, etc.
But this multi-billion-dollar miracle of Snapdeal did not happen on day one.
Oh, no. We had no idea. We had no idea what was this venture capital, how do you even register a company. We had no idea. Yeah. We just wanted to work together to do something.
So how did this start? What did you start first?
I think, so what happened after this is December 12th, 2006 that Rohit is referring to. That day, that around the Ghodi period. Then I went back to the US. Then Microsoft applied for my visa, which got rejected. So I was basically asked to leave the US. Rohit was working with Capital One in India. He got his visa.
Yeah. It was ironical also because I was in India to go to the US. He was in the US and he said...
Yeah, I think because he'd been there too long already.
So I think that proved to be a great catalyst where we said, let's come back, let's start. And initially it wasn't even a matter of what is the biggest business we can build. I think it was a matter of, here is a need we see, let's start this. Let's not worry about how big it becomes. Let's give it our best shot. That's how we started with a coupon book business. We did a Snapdeal came much later. We started first with a completely offline, no technology, no
How
internet.
did that work, Rohit?
It had no technology. It was even simpler. Anyone with common sense can understand.
So these were discount coupons.
Yes. So this was, this was a printed coupon booklet. So what we would do is, I think, just completely taking off our hat of, we went to good colleges and all that. We just became pure hustlers. Just go and get good deals from all the restaurants, bars, salons, etc., we could find. And we could tell that their attitude is very different when you are sitting inside the restaurant versus when you're there to, when you're there to sell something. So the first version of our business was nothing more than a printed booklet with tierable coupons. As a consumer, you would buy that product You tear a coupon, give it to a restaurant, you'll get a discount. That's how simple it was.
And it had very, very average traction. We thought it would be like a really large, successful business. It had very average traction. And I think in the early days, we saw so many failures that we realized that building a business is not easy.